Brace yourself for a chaotic ending. I'll be more specific, so we don't have to be too hypothetical here, but from October 5th through October 11th, we have several endings that we know of in the stars, and there might be more. I'm bordering on being too loud, so I hope I'm not too saturated. This is as loud as I can go without being like saturating the microphone settings. So hope this is loud enough for y'all. Here's our summary slide. We have the dream bot that says apocalypse. I'll just throw that out there. And people have been using this word apocalypse for October 4th, which is today. Today I'm doing this broadcast or this recording on the same day as the emergency broadcast system. So I find that interesting, but the Dreambot doesn't stop there. It says high vibes. It's both. It's like clearly disaster looming, but then high vibes is clearly in there as well. I'll show you. I'll prove it to you. So we have to include in the Dreambot circle, we have to include the endings, the apocalypse. That's what I'm calling that, because the I-Ching says after completion. So it's an ending, and we're ending the Virgo. Okay, so let me back up. The moon in a last quarter moon this coming week within our CIRF week, indicates that we're in the last phase or the last week of the Virgo new moon cycle and also the Aries eclipse cycle. So we have two endings in one, and we won't get like strictly to the end, but we're in that last phase. Once we hit that last quarter moon, it's about a week. From there, then you're going to see the new eclipse cycle and the new Libra new moon, which is the eclipse. So you'll start both cycles right there. So that's the literal end of what I'm talking about in the CIRF report. It's all correlated. We have that as the central theme, the last quarter moon and what it signifies, the ending of. And then we have the I-Ching that says after completion. We have the Dreambot that says apocalypse, but the Dreambot also includes high vibes. So we've got the Libra stuff. This is high vibes, people. We got Mercury, Sun, and Mars in Libra, and we're shifting out from the Aries cycle, the Aries eclipse cycle, into a Libra cycle. So it's going to go quick. It's going to go big time. We haven't talked a lot about Libra yet, and that's because of the profound energies elsewhere in the stars. Yes, the sun's been there in Libra. Yes, Mars has been in fall there for quite a while. I'm going to exit at the end of this week, but nonetheless, there has been the Libra influence, but it will become dominant starting October 14th. Well, once we get done with this week, you'll start to feel this Libra influence, and it will feel good. We start off with a very chaotic chart, and we end with a not so chaotic chart. So we got that going for us. All right. As far as the astrology goes, we've got the Libra influence. We got the last quarter moon. That happens to be in Cancer. We have lots of inconjuncts, a continuation from last week. So the unpredictability is still super high when we start this week. And when we end it won't be so change oriented. In fact, I think all the inconjuncts go away completely by the end of the week. One of the big energies is Mars square Pluto. We have Venus going into Virgo and at the same time opposing Saturn. So that'll be challenging. We have a Mercury combust, but it's only starting. I don't think it's going to be a big factor this week, but it's important to note. We still have 5 planets in retrograde. All right, with that, we have a high congruency score. It's all interrelated. So let's get started. All right, and welcome to all you new subscribers. We're on YouTube, we're on Rumble, and BitChute. So pick your modality, and we're there. But big shout out goes to John Doe for continuing his dominance on these best comment awards. But I think this is pretty profound. This change is going to be astonishing. And so far, we are seeing astonishing things and astonishing changes. Very unpredictable. How speaker goes down, gets booted out. That's the first time, apparently, that we've ever voted out a House Speaker. So it says some unprecedented changes. So, John Doe, you are spot on with this astonishment. And then special shout outs to contributors. And I don't know if they want to remain anonymous or have their name out there. I didn't ask. I should have, but shout out to KHJH and RT. I want you guys to know that I appreciate you. Thank you. And it really does help. Okay, shall we get into the Dreambot? I think so. Oh, and one more shout out to the comments. 2 of you commenting about the voice. It's just not loud enough. You don't have a speaker and all that. I'm checking all my settings and I'm going about as close to my microphone as I can before it gets saturated, and it might even be saturated. So if it is, I apologize, but I'm riding that edge. So I hope you guys can hear me fine. All right, let's zoom in. And here are the first 3 words in the Dreambot for 10/4/23. Normally days flew. And you could take that a few different ways. I took it as the normal days are gone. But you could also take it as maybe we get back to normal. Normally days flew. Maybe they just flew by really fast. So you could read it into that a lot. But the big picture here is the word apocalypse shows up right here. And they're very negative words in the red. In the red arrows, we have pain, rapidly setting, like a setting sun, like the ending, twist, heads, apocalypse, went, done, age. Age as in everything's aging out. So blue arrows are quite the opposite. They're starting, fantasy, higher, dancing, upward. Condo is, a high rise. And recommend. These are very positive vibes. And so it's not just a negative run. It's both, but it's extreme. It's expanding outward in the negative and the positive. So anywhere but normally. Ironically, normally is the top word. Bizarre, huh? So anyway, one more thing on the Dreambot run. It includes the word property. And, when you have condo and property together, you can now it could be more of a Libra thing as we start moving into that Libra season and the Libra eclipse. But I'm wondering if property is taking the apocalypse. So that's why I have this dashed line with the question mark. It's not just the word property. It's also, other words such as condo and kind of property type words, but not enough to make a meme. So I was wondering if that's correlated together. A lot of people are talking specifically apocalypse in terms of real estate. So, take it or leave it. I don't think anybody's really accurate with predictions, but could happen. Some people did predict the 2007, 2008 housing collapse. So there's that. So here we are in one of the biggest endings. You can see all the endings here. You can see the Virgo new moon cycle. We're at the very end of that. And we're at the end of the Aries cycle. But after we get done with another eclipse cycle, that's going to be Libra starting on the 14th. Then after that's complete, after 6 months, you're going to see the next eclipse, the total solar eclipse in the United States, is going to be another Aries cycle. So it's pretty cool. We're going to take our lessons learned and our growth in terms of the Aries traits and skill sets and incorporating those into all of our lives. And if you did that well, you're going to get some good lessons learned and get really prepared for the next cycle and take that in a heightened way and very important way. Okay, so here we have October, and we're in the middle of these two vertical lines. We have lots of retrograde planets. On 12 October at 8 p.m., Pluto's going to station and start to go direct. So we'll lose Pluto there, but the rest remain in October in retrograde. That would be, the other four. We have the eclipse plotted. I just forgot to put the October 28th lunar eclipse on here. And so that is, if I put the right about in here, the 28th of October at 3:23 p.m. That's going to be the full moon lunar eclipse, and that's going to be in Taurus. Sorry, in Taurus, because it's a full moon. But imminently, we're looking at the 14th. That's the solar eclipse in Libra, the one that we've been talking about for many moons. And I think we're ready to get started on the day today. Look at that chart. Just look at all those lines. I don't know if we've ever done a CIRF report. Some of you might remember that's ever been this chaotic. It is chaos, and it's also heavy in change. Change is indicated in here, just like John Doe indicated. We do have a grand trine. It's not a water. There's a Cancer point. There's a Pisces point, but then there's a Libra point in there. So it's just a grand trine, and it's a weak point over here. It's a last quarter moon in Cancer over here. So take it or leave it, but there is some emotional challenges right there. Saturn being one of those points. All right, let's kind of break this down, and we go from, let's see, most significant to least, maybe. We're going to look at this power struggle probably as a very important alignment all week. And so we'll start with this one, Mars square Pluto. We've had this alignment before. Mars, or your outer power, your yang, your willpower, the ability to get things done, is sort of weakened because Mars is in detriment in Libra. And so that is a pressurized to the inner power, and the inner power is Pluto, and it's in Capricorn. So very goal-oriented. The inner power wants to get stuff done. The outer power wants peace, and but these are conflicted. And there's pressure between them. Then we have Mercury. Mercury oppose Neptune. We talked about that. It's a continuation of last week, where mind is sort of trickery, a lot of fantasy. It's hard to tell what's rational, what's not rational. But soon Mercury is going to make it even worse in terms of clarity of thought, being able to communicate, because Mercury combust will start here this week. But thoughts, as Mercury just entered into Libra recently, but thoughts and communication more around peace, balance, and justice, all things Libra. And this will be a big factor, I believe, is Venus oppose Saturn. We're about a 4-degree orb away right now. Be aware that relationships and finance have challenges. We're having to balance both of those, relationships and a lot of desire in Leo, but also finance. And when you've got Venus in Leo, it's bling, it's spending, it's overspending, but now it's all challenged. You have to balance out maybe limitation. So that doesn't sound very congruent, right? Lots of bling, lots of overspending, but yet we have Saturn in terms of limitations and challenges. So when we combine those together, we might be creating a situation where there's limitation, especially on resources, maybe a limitation on things of Pisces like connection, spiritual attunement, maybe feeling lacking in spiritual life. So there's a lot there. But remember, thing I didn't talk about was all these inconjuncts, and all these inconjuncts are adaptation. They're change. There's each planet of these sides are adapting to each other. This is the climax here, Venus inconjunct Pluto. It's kind of the last remaining inconjunct on Venus. So climax of something controlling or overhauling relationships. Something is controlling, or finances are controlling or changing, adapting to all things power and control. They're transitioning. Pluto is the transition planet, so it's overhauling relationships or finance. And then the big news here, this is what the whole week is, energy is, the main influence is last quarter moon. This is the exact time, 8:47 on Friday the 6th of October, last quarter moon in Cancer. So moon is home. Emotions are, peaceful, but can be feeling a little vulnerable, want to protect yourself. That's the urge. Time to slow down. This is the last quarter moon in the Virgo cycle, but also the Aries eclipse cycle. It's all ending, and this marks the end. And at this time, behaviorally, what is recommended is to slow down, put the brakes on, time to reflect, time to rejuvenate. And this, you got a week. You have 1 week from the last quarter until the new moon. And in that time, it's highly recommended to not do a lot of things, not a lot of big projects. We had these goals for Virgo. Those should already be not only met, but celebrated, ideally at the full moon and the last quarter moon. We have these cycles ending. So it's time to reflect on the Virgo goals that you made and finished, and also the Aries improvements that you made over the last 6 months. Saturday, the 7th, we're looking at a T-square on Mars, and just what we didn't need is more pressure on a weak Mars. But we want to honor the last quarter moon, so it's actually perfect for the last quarter moon. We have a weekend more pressurized on Mars, so how about just not even be here? And what I mean by that is, the taskmaster, maybe the inner dictator, is telling you, you got to get these things done because there's pressure on your Mars, on all of our Mars. And so there might be feeling this, when you're laying on the couch trying to rejuvenate, you're feeling like, I should be doing this, I should be doing that. Just going to have to figure out how to take a break. Some of you will be able to just ignore this yang and just sack out, rejuvenate, but be inspired. Don't just be soaking up a bunch of TV. I'm not saying you can't watch TV or movies, but really a time for reflection this week. A lot of internal things, especially before Mercury gets started into its combust. At least Mercury is free from Neptune for the time being, but the next challenge will be the combust. And we'll go through that when the time comes here. On Sunday, the 8th, this is where Venus goes into Virgo. So now relationships are a lot more detail-oriented. This is not the exact time. The exact time of this happens to be Mars square Pluto. We talked about that power struggle. And that's at 8:04 p.m. Central Daylight Savings Time. And this is a big power struggle. But this is going to feel like the kind of a hangover from Venus in Leo and the exuberant kind of, bling and spending and all that, maybe strong desire. Now it's just a time to kind of, rescind all that. Not regret. It doesn't have to be regret, but hangovers sometimes are, regret oriented, but it's feeling more responsible. And relationships have more of a utilitarian sort of a flavor to it. And now with Saturn, kind of feel like we have to. And just, Saturn's a should planet. Virgo's kind of a should type of energy. So there will be this obligation thing as well, both in finance and relationships. Oh, what's interesting, I found it interesting, is this Mars square Pluto. It happens at 8:04 p.m. is pretty much the time. I mean, this is 59 minutes, 59.8 minutes. So it's just a couple more minutes, literally, after this goes exact, this power struggle alignment, when Venus enters into Virgo. So it's basically Sunday night. On Monday, the 9th, this is where Cazimi starts. This is not the time it starts. It just starts today on Monday, the 9th. And it's in Libra. And so mind starts to get a little weakened, maybe some slight hints of brain fog. It's not too severe at this point. We're talking 8 degrees out. So it doesn't suddenly just come on strong. It's going to get worse and worse until we get really close to the sun and we have our Cazimi. This is where, almost enlightenment or strong insights or strong ability to really think and communicate. You get this rare window. And Julie had talked about this on Telegram, past a calculator where you can calculate your Cazimi, because that'll be different for everybody in the different time zones. But the Cazimi is going to occur on 19th, 20th. I think for me, it's on the 20th. So you can start planning for that. And that's a period where, all of a sudden it's this, wow, the light just comes on, but it's literally the light. It's the sun. So Mercury and the sun are in azimuth together and also inclination. And so you do have those sun packets are literally on fire with the all things Mercury, your adaptability, your agility, your ability to rationalize, logic goes through the roof, insights, be able to communicate. So you can plan around that as well. But then once that Cazimi's over, about 17 minutes after, so once Mercury is past the sun by 17 minutes, then we start over with the heavy combust. So it just shuts down, immediate brain fog, kind of confused speech, etc. But cool stuff, huh? Cool alignments. Tuesday the 10th, we have our main alignment here is Venus opposed Saturn, and this is the perfected time. That's in the middle of the night for most of us, 1:10 a.m. Central Daylight Savings Time, so in the wee hours of the night. And so we might have dreams because the moon is the emotions, and so that's with Venus, can really highlight dreams of a lot of things that you need to get done, a lot of limitations that you might have. That's the Saturn influence. But more importantly, on this day, that's Tuesday the 10th, is the inconjuncts, the double inconjuncts, because this goes not exact, but the Saturn is the exact. This is where Pluto is starting to slow down. Already a slow pace already, but slowing in retrograde. It's not quite station yet, but starting there. And then we have station at 27 degrees, 54 minutes of Capricorn. It's just going to freeze there for a while. We're on Wednesday the 11th, and then retrograde will commence a day and a half later, I believe. Might be a day later. And then progress its way back into Aquarius. All right, here is the I-Ching. Hexagram 63 is after completion. It is a fine irony that at the completion of 2 lunar cycles, those are my words, there is still too much to do. There's that. The Saturn and the Mars T-square is in here. Just feeling like I still need to get stuff done, but remember, it's the ending on that last quarter moon. Completion is merely a pause in the cycle of creation and decay, a momentary still point for the swinging pendulum of life. Though completion implies a period of restful pause, one that has been well earned, hasn't it, surfers? It is not an actual ending. It is a harmonious flat spot in the constancy of change and movement, like the still point between the inhalation and exhalation of one's breath. Yep, and that's this entire week. All right, very, very, very important lines that we had in casting the 6 coins. Line 2 says, your talents may be hidden by these circumstances or by the efforts of those in positions of power. Just be patient. There's a lot that correlates here. We have the Venus in conjunct Pluto. We have the Mars square Pluto. And we have the Pluto station, not direct yet, but station. And so concerns of power and control very subconsciously have an effect this week. Line 4, this is about Libra season. Even during times of harmony and prosperity, certain imperfections may still show themselves. You don't say. And the energy graph is just the chaos, the ending. The ending actually increases throughout the week. So it starts very low, and then we get the first quarter moon, and then it goes straight across at a very high level. The chaos, unpredictability from last week continues until about the last quarter moon, and then it starts to decay downward, kind of like that. All right, let's transition to our solution slide. We're not getting to the solution, though. See, here's that mess. This is what it starts off with. So it kind of looks like the end. It might feel like the end of the world, the apocalypse, but it's really just the end of a couple of cycles. The chaos in the skies remain climaxed through the last quarter moon and begins to lighten up towards the end of the CIRF week. Throughout this week, the empaths will feel the shift of energies moving towards conclusion on 2 key cycles, the Virgo moon, past 30 days, and the Aries eclipse, past 6 months. It is closing time for both, offering an opportunity to contemplate closure, rejuvenation, inspiration, and all things yin. Sorry about that. Mercury combust begin. Oh, you know what? I forgot to do this. There's the full deal. Sorry about that, folks. Mercury combust begins but remains weak. I wouldn't worry too much about Mercury combust if I were you. There's much bigger fish to fry here. Libra influences strengthen as we prepare for the Libra annular solar eclipse on October 14th. All right. And before we look at the solution part of this, let's get back to our regular broadcast so I can show you how we got and derived the solution. In my opinion, the most important part of this CIRF report is this solution. And so we get 43, determination. So isn't that weird? So you got a last quarter moon and we shouldn't be doing much. And the I-Ching sends us determination. So we're channeling this determination in a very specific way. So listen up. First rule, do not compromise with corruption. Misdeeds and shameful actions must be identified for what they are and quickly discredited. You cannot successfully resist or defeat negativity in its own terms. Positive alternative, which leads away from the nature of the problem, are more appropriate than trying to counter corruption with raw power. And that can be difficult, and it's worth mentioning that we do have those two power alignments with Pluto and the Pluto station by the end of the week. So this becomes a central theme. Third, the means to counter negativity need to be consistent with the result you want to achieve. You cannot stop the spreading of lies by spreading more of them. All right. This is the last quarter moon. It's a very, very, very big time spec or milestone, as we talked about, and that takes us into hexagram 39, and we get adaptable Gemini as our sidereal solution. So first of all, 39 is obstruction, the value of obstruction and provoking analysis, assessment, and reevaluation. So super interesting because we have the last quarter moon, so that tells us to rejuvenate, slow down, and reflect. We have obstruction that says, hey, we have an obstruction that is going to provoke you to analyze and assess and reevaluate. So you can already see where I'm headed with this is especially with determination. It's don't be lazy this week. I mean, do your basic stuff. And in doing your basic stuff, there's a high chance that you'll have some sort of resistance or obstruction. And then immediately you can slow down right there, at least mentally, and it'll provoke analysis, assessment, and reevaluation, exactly what the last quarter moon is asking you to do. And we have line 4, temperance, careful evaluation and assessment before taking action. So again, I like the rave a lot because it always seems to connect the influence with the solution. It's like a melding of both. I love this modality. But it says the value of feelings and instincts in establishing the proper timing, the energy to provoke at exactly the right time. So it's important to slow down. That's an overlap. And it's important to look at the timing and the right time. But ultimately, it's important to analyze, assess, and reevaluate, especially looking back at the 2 cycles. So let's go back to our solution slide, and here we go. And I do have some runes for later. Not sure what that was. That was a new notification. All right. So we have the I-Ching. This is determination. And the determination, as I mentioned before, we're channeling that into bring forth the gifts of the 2 recent cycles. So it's being determined to not just move on so quickly. This is not a move on week. This week is about reflecting. Okay. And that's what this I-Ching says. Be determined to be reflective. And the first reflection is the Virgo, the 30-day cycle. What did you gain out of that? What did you do well? What did you not do so well? And then Virgo can feed into your overall Aries eclipse cycle and really get some good lessons learned and solidify some either lessons or some skills that you picked up, or commitments in terms of Aries and your inner warrior, your inner identity, who you really are. All these questions should have been addressed over the course of the last 6 months. And then we have the moon phase, the last quarter moon, which has you doing this very thing, is reflecting on the Virgo and the Aries. And then we have the Rave Mandala says, yes, exactly that. Value of obstruction in provoking analysis assessment. So when you get obstructed or when you get some hurdles in the way this week or any kind of resistance points, be aware of it. Be with that obstruction because it will feed into exactly what we just talked about. And then remember how chaotic the first charts are. The chaos, at least in the beginning, is very chaotic. We have Sidereal Gemini. You can imagine how fast. Have you ever seen these dogs go through these little loopholes? Well, it's very, very adaptable. Gemini is very fast, very versatile, and that's what we need to be. And even with the combust starting, the Mercury combust, which sort of limits this in a way, we have been asked by this conversion chart to use Gemini, and I think we're going to need it. So you're going to have to be versatile. We have a lot of adaptions and widgets to kind of go through. We have to navigate those well, but we also need to investigate and reflect by 3 overlaps. So here we go with such a confusing energetic layout that we have this week. It's a continuation of last week. It's fortunate to have the agility of Sidereal Gemini to deal with any surprises that show up in our reality. In general, adapt and shift as necessary to respond to the chaos. However, we must also dedicate time for reflection and introspection about the cycles that are coming to an end. Ironically, one of the best places to start this soul searching is into an obvious obstruction in your way. When you are challenged this week, stop what you are doing and observe your thoughts, emotions, and immediate behavioral reactions. Are you responding to the world in the most genuine way? When I ask these questions, think about it in terms of the Aries cycle that is ending. Are you responding to the world in the most genuine way? Are you responding in authentic manner? Are you more direct? Are you more brave and determined? Are you sufficiently ardent, maybe even aggressive, but only when called for? Because the gift of Aries is to be able to defend yourself, protect yourself, fight for what's right. But we don't want to be fighting all the time. We don't want to be in fight or flight all the time. That means a shorter lifespan. So only when it's called for, sometimes we can get aggressive. So are you sufficiently aggressive when you need to be? And how often is that? Well, it depends. Shouldn't be too often, but you never know. There might be long periods of time where you have to be constantly aggressive. I doubt it. But write down your reflections. They will be valuable in the next Aries eclipse cycle. That's the benefit of writing these down. You can put that on your calendar and your reminder system that these are your big lessons learned. These are the things that you have developed over the last 6 months. And then you can start again in April of 2024 and really get a fast start and finish off the rest of the zodiac with those separate new moon cycles to, again, help out the Aries thing. The benefit is knowing who you are, knowing what's important to you, and being yourself, being genuine. And in doing so, you'll be able to fight for yourself and for what's important to you very authentically. That's the most important thing from an Aries perspective, is to be authentic, know who you are, and have self-acceptance. All right. Let's see here. Now, that's what I wanted to do. Now we have runes. And these runes are brought to you by Interzension Therapy. If you're on the road to inner peace, let us help you. Go to Interzension Therapy. Go to interzension.com. All right. So this is a basic set. I don't think we've ever had AWAS, but it's a very Virgo. And I wanted to do most of my effort this week and most of my reminding myself in terms of reflecting, analyzing, learning, and learning mainly from the Virgo cycle. That's what the AWAS is here for. Progress through purpose, hard work, service, loyalty. It doesn't mean that I want to work hard this week. It means I want to invoke the Virgo-ness and learn from this last 30 days so that I can be a better warrior. So that's what the TWAS is. And I can have better courage. I can know what I'm fighting for when I'm fighting. I don't want to be fighting all the time, obviously, but I want to do it authentically. So the statement I want to use when I'm carrying around the AWAS and the TWAS is I assimilate all important lessons from the Virgo and Aries cycles ending soon, ending just shortly after the end of this CIRF week. It will end, and then we will have a Libra cycle, and it's going to be very profound in terms of justice, beauty, peace, and harmony. And we'll have a chance to make that inside ourselves, and they'll have a higher chance of being able to see that happening out in the world, especially if more of us are doing it. But for now, it's quiet down, slow down. I think it'll be hard. It'll be hard for all of us, especially as we're adapting to the changes. It's going to be hard to remember to slow down. So, slowing down, reflecting on the Virgo, reflecting on the Aries. And with that, congratulations for making it through another eclipse cycle. We'll get ready to start another one next CIRF report. All right, y'all, take care. Not sure what to say about the emergency broadcast coming out later today. There's a lot of conflicting information about what it really is and what it's supposed to do. I'm just not going to live in fear. And I have the lightning and thunder acknowledged that thought. I thought that was pretty cool. I don't know if you got to hear that or not, but it said, yes, don't live in fear, but prepare. You don't have to prepare in fear. You don't have to prepare because of fear. You have to fear instruct your way, take reasonable steps, and then relax. The only time to not relax is when you're being faced with imminent threat, and then you deserve to protect yourself. But how often in this day and age does that happen? Certainly not 24 hours a day. And that's detrimental to your emotional well-being and physical well-being, relationships, and overall health. So this week, practice relaxing and reflecting, all right? And enjoy the ending. All right. Take care, everybody. Love and light. See you next week.